Welcome to the infrastructure. Are we on? No? Okay, good. I wasn't sure if I saw you point it or not. Welcome to the Infrastructure Oversight Board meeting for the City of Burbank, January 28th, 2021. We're going to start by saluting the flag. Would everyone please join me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. And now for the roll call.
Okay. Armin Abazian.
Present.
Thank you. Walter Brennan Jr. I believe you're muted. We'll come back. Walter, I believe you're muted.
Present.
Thank you. Maria Coronado.
Present.
Thank you. Greg Jackson.
Present.
Vanessa Rochelle.
Here.
Thank you. Tamala Takahashi.
Here.
And Jeff Vanderbort.
Also present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to announcements. Staff have any announcements for us?
Madam Chair, I do not have anything to report to the board.
Thank you.
If I may, I do have one announcement. On the agenda for today, it is noted that it's for January 28th, 2020. And just for the board to note that it is going to be updated for city records for 2021.
Thank you for that. This is where we move on to public comment. Do we have anyone waiting to comment?
As of now, there are no commenters.
Okay, thank you. Consent calendar. Do we have anything on our consent calendar? Yes?
Yes. Madam Chair, you have the approval of the minutes.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I'm sorry. Approval of the minutes. Recommendation is to approve the Infrastructure Oversight Board meeting minutes for the regular meeting of December 3rd, 2020. Do we have any comments?
Move to approve. Second.
All right, call for a vote.
Armin Abazian?
I'll abstain.
Abstain. Okay. Walter Brennan Jr.?
Approved.
Maria Coronado?
Approved.
Greg Jackson,
Approve.
Vanessa Rochelle, Tamala Takahashi,
Yes.
and Jeff Vanderboort.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for that. Moving on to the reports to the board. It looks like we have our second quarter report for 2021.
Yes. Madam Chair, board members, in compliance with our municipal code, we are here to provide what we're proud to provide a second quarter, our second report to you on the status of our capital improvement projects and program delivery. Our capital improvement projects program manager, Hoon Han, has prepared this presentation and will deliver it to you, and we'll take questions afterwards. So thank you very much. Hoon?
All right, thank you, Mr. Bergman. Good evening, Chair Coronado and members of the board. My name is Hoon Han, the Capital Projects Program Manager. Tonight, I have before you the second quarter update of the fiscal year 2021 of the CIP program. The goal of this presentation is to highlight the projects that are either out to bid, also a project that is advertising with their RFP, projects awarded for construction by council, and projects in construction, and also projects that have been completed in the second quarter. This presentation does not include projects that are either in planning or in design at this time. Sorry. So the quarterly update is required by City Municipal Code, Section 2-1-426. That's why we are here today. Here are the list of projects that are either currently out for bid in the second quarter. A request for proposal was advertised, or the construction project actually was awarded by council. The monument repair project, it's a repair project of the arch and pilaster at Olive Avenue and Sunset Canyon Drive. This was actually damaged from a car accident. So the goal is to try to bring the arch and the pilaster to its original condition. And all the costs that's associated with this construction and design will be seeking reimbursement from the insurance company. So that's actually, the process has already started. So we're waiting to finish the project, and then we will request reimbursement. The next project that's actually out for advertisement is a sidewalk repair project. This is an annual sidewalk programmatic project that replaces the damaged sidewalks, curb and gutter, and also access ramps. And this will address damages in the zones 9 through 12. And this is actually, they always coordinate this project with the pavement program. So they're usually a year ahead of the pavement program. So when this pavement program comes into this area next year, that they won't have to deal with the sidewalk or any concrete damage, or at least the part that they have to address is minimized. The next project, it's a Parks and Rec project. That's actually, the RFP is being advertised at this time, or is advertised in the second quarter. The park playground equipment basically is just to replace the existing park equipment and shade fabric. And also this, basically the list is, they work off the priority list that they currently have there. The next two projects are projects that actually have been awarded by council for construction. The 2020 street improvement project, it's part of the bigger annual street, street, alley, and concrete paving project. So the streets, alley, and concrete paving project is divided into two separate projects. This particular project deals with the majors, such as Hollywood Way, Olive, and Buena Vista. The other project, the other annual street improvement project, from a dollar standpoint, it's a larger project that deals with all the residential and site and alleys So the projects are divided into two separate projects, and actually it's run by two separate teams. The next project is a Ludigan park play equipment replacement. So we'll be replacing the existing play equipment to bring it up to current standards. And if I may, the 2020 street improvement project, this project will be actually paving 2.4 centerline miles and also 0.43 bike lane miles. So that's the area that they will be resurfacing. The next project is under construction, the next 4 here, the Burbank Channel Bikeway Regional Gap Closure Project. This project actually started in October of 2019, and it's in the tail end of its project. The project will be constructing 0.79 miles of Class 1 bike trail on the LA County Flood Control Channel, and that runs from near the downtown Burbank Metrolink station to Alameda Avenue. The next project is a Midtown Commercial Corridor project. The project is installing 112 LED safety lights and will also construct 4 traffic signals. The next project is the Empire Avenue Landscape Improvement Project. This project is a mitigation project for the I-5 HOV Empire Interchange project. And so this is actually funded through Metro. And this is basically to enhance the look of the area, and also the landscaping is also to help deter any graffiti that may occur in that area. The next project is the annual street improvement, phase 10. This is part of the program that I mentioned earlier as a larger project, which is part of the streets, alley, and concrete paving. And this project will actually be resurfacing 16 centerline miles. These next projects are projects that are actually have been completed in the second quarter. We have Leland Way Landscape Project, and this is also a mitigation project as part of the I-5 HOV Empire Interchange project. And this project also included obviously landscaping, and also as part of the project, we also resurfaced Leland Way. Next project is the Traffic Responsive Signal System. The project installed fiber optics and upgraded 3 traffic signals. And the next project is the Foy Park Fitness Equipment and the Verdugo Gym Floor replacement. And these are also projects that have been completed in the second quarter. The Schaefer Baseball Field Equipment. This project is a multi-phase project. This phase, the goal is to increase the playability and the rentability of the fields. The improvement included the perimeter fence screening and also a new scoreboard. The next project is the Johnny Carson Shade Structure Project, where they install 6 whimsical shade structures. And the next project is the Joint Use Field Improvement Project, which included the batting cage upgrades and fence in the area. And as you can see, the total for the project that we're addressing in different phases of construction is little over $24 million, $24,249,000. I'd like to share with you, with the board, some of these pictures that we have for these projects. As you can see, the goal is to highlight that how we're using Measure P funds. This is the annual street improvement phase 10 project, and which is under construction. And as you can see, the project sign is there to show how that this project is being funded by Measure P, and we call it Powered by Measure P. And this is a sign that will be reused. It's not a one-time use project, and we will be reusing it as we work on projects that are funded by Measure P. The annual street improvement project, as you can see, it includes the ramp, access ramp reconstruction, and you can see the paving operation with the paving machine and what it takes to work on this project. The next project is the Empire Avenue landscape, which is under construction. On the left of the slide, that is the purple pipe. And for those of you, I'm not sure if all of you know or not, but the purple pipe signifies recycled water. So anytime you see purple pipe, purple covers, purple sprinkler heads, that means that they're using recycled water. And so we have a nice recycled water program that we actually implement. Next is the Leland Way Streetscape project, and you can see the before and after, drastic, big improvement. You see the landscaping along the sound wall. As you can see, the landscaping hasn't fully grown yet, but it's only been a few months since completion, so it'll take time. Hopefully by next year there'll be a lot more growth, and it'll look, as far as aesthetically, a lot better. You could see the pavement improvement also that we actually resurfaced, and as part of the project, you could see the what's known as a cycle class 4 bike trail that's has a delineator between the car traffic and the bike lanes. Next project is the Johnny Carson Park shade structure. As this is a very, actually, I really like this. So it came out really nice, I think. And I haven't been out there yet, but I would encourage all of you to maybe one day go check it out. And I definitely plan on doing that. And last, this is the Foy Park fitness equipment replacement project. And lastly, the gym floor replacement at Verdugo Gym. And that concludes my presentation, and I am available for any questions.
Thank you, Hoon. Madam Chair and board members, we're happy to answer any questions. Hoon, can you unshare your screen,
Yes.
please? Thank you. Okay. Madam Chair.
Mr. Vanderboort, yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's not that I have anything urgent, but I have a few quick questions. With respect to the playground equipment replacement work that has been ongoing, obviously, for quite a while and will continue to be in the future, I know we are replacing these shade fabrics apparently on a regular basis. Has there been, and if you don't know the answer, perhaps someone from Parks and Rec can answer this in a future response. Has there been a life cost analysis done with these shade structures? They're definitely nice and they fit well, but is the cost of replacing them regularly too much in comparison to alternatives that may or may not be available? This was just something that occurred to me as I see that those words reappearing regularly on the descriptions of the work.
I'm not aware of anything, any study or anything that they put together. I will check with Parks and Rec to see if they have anything I could report back to you on that.
Thank you. Again, it's just a general observation question, just to have a little more information in our back pocket.
Through the chair, Board Member Vanderboort, can I ask a question, please? As a newer guy here, is the shade structure you're talking about, are there a lot of fabric shade structures still in Burbank and that's what you're looking for, or looking for the life cycle, the new ones that we're putting in?
The new ones that we're putting in. And we have had some fabric shade structures. I mean, obviously the little whimsical ones that have been put on at the Buena Vista Park is a different material, or it appears to be a different material. You know, as we arrive to new materials available for these kinds of things, I'm just curious if a quick little one paragraph update to let us know what's out there in the market. It's just curiosity. Thank you for looking for an answer for that. Also, I was wondering if that Burbank Channel Bikeway project will be opening soon, if we have a date yet. I know that I just walked by the terminus by the main downtown transit center, and it looked like it was ready to open. I'm just curious.
It's definitely very close. I believe they are finalizing the project, and I can't remember for sure if they're actually working on their punch list, the final items to basically finish out the project. But we're looking at probably definitely in the next quarter that the project will be completed.
Okay, look forward to walking it and using it.
If I may, sir, thank you, Hoon. The latest information that I have, as Hoon said, we are finalizing the punch list, the last bit of work to be done. I think within the next 2 weeks, it should be officially open.
Wow, wonderful. Look forward to seeing it and using it. There was a comment on the annual street improvement phase 10 that we're going into a 5-year cycle. Is that still a realistic goal based on our current progress? This again is curiosity to be able to tell neighbors and people that we really have cut the cycle in half, which is an incredible improvement with the funds that came from Measure P.
Correct. Basically they are transitioning. I believe the design for that work is being completed right now. So it's the next program will be a 5-year program instead of the 10-year program.
Look forward to that as well as a member of the community.
And through the chair, if I may, sir, to add a little bit more onto that, the 5-year cycle, with the residential paving program, it's definitely worth consolidating the areas basically and to be able to do twice the amount of areas for the economy of scale. You get a contractor in there, able to do a lot more work in much less mobilization and other types of back and forth kind of work. So it really is efficient use of the funds, and staff has stepped up to the plate to make sure all those streets are done. And we appreciate the question. Thank you.
No, and likewise, I appreciate the answer, because that idea of saving mobilization costs and getting better bang for the buck sounds like another good result of Measure P funds. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And Madam Chair, I think I saw Board Member Avazian and Board Member Jackson hand up for this question.
Mr. Avazian, I saw you first. Go ahead.
Yes. Do you know, Mr. Berkman, when you're going to have the 5-year CIP program ready and published?
Foreshadowing the end of the meeting, we are currently working on getting all the project requests. We look forward to our next meeting with the board, where you will see the first ever prioritized list of project and score that you will look at. And as you all may recall, in February and March, we are going to go both to the internally development oversight committee and to the board to take a look at the scoring, talk about the scoring, modify the project list over the next couple of months. So with that, by ultimately June, when council adopts the annual budget, we will definitely have that 5-year program in front of you.
Thank you, Ken. Mr. Jackson?
I believe Vanessa has her hand up also, and I defer to ladies first.
Well, thank you. So this question goes back to the bike path. So I know we're installing a class 1. Are there 4 different types of bike paths, and why did we decide on the class 1? Why is this one a 1? Where did the design come in? Can you explain that?
So there are 4 different classifications for trails. So the class 1 is basically when you have a trail that's off the street itself. So you have a clear delineation with a barrier, structural barrier that divides the pedestrians or the bike lane from the traffic. So in this particular case in Burbank, the Burbank channel, there's no cars, it's along the storm drain channel. So that's why it's considered a class 1 bike trail. Class 2 is a trail that is actually shared by the street, and you don't have a clear delineation And you're sharing the street. And most of class 2 is when it's in the residential areas where you actually have streets and you don't have a bike lane striped out. And class 3 is when you have when you're sharing the bike lane with the traffic, and you actually have a striping that divides or separates, clearly separates the bikeway and the cars. And then class 4 is the new, I guess I think it came around about 5 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, but I can't remember exactly when. But class 4, they call it cycle track, where you saw on the Leland project, where you have delineators set up, where you actually, it's not as safe per se as class 1, because class 1 you would actually have a concrete barrier or something that would actually prevent cars from crossing over.
I'd prefer the word protected, Hoon, as opposed to safe.
Protected, yes, thank you.
Yeah, me too. Okay, and one last question. So I know that the arch was damaged, and so we're waiting for the insurance funding to come in to replace that near the castaways. Are we keeping with the same design, or are we just, what are we doing? Replacing? We're keeping with the same design?
Yeah, so we're replacing it in kind. We're actually not waiting for insurance money. We actually will be fronting the money, and then we will get reimbursement from the insurance company. As far as the look of the arch, we're going to try to salvage most of the rock as much as possible, and any rock that we can't reuse and we need additional rocks for the face of the pilaster, we're working with the landfill, because I've heard that they told me that they have similar rocks that we could actually use, native rocks, so that we could be consistent with the look. The arch right now is actually, the arch itself hasn't been damaged. It was only the pilaster, the column. The arch is actually located at our city public works yard. It is safe, but it is weathered and it is older. So we are going to refurbish it and try to bring it to life again.
Right.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you. A couple questions. I think Ken has partly answered them, but that's not going to stop me from asking. This is the second quarter report. The second quarter is from when to when? October through till December of last year, or through December? Is that what we're looking at?
The second quarter is from September to October to December.
October to December, okay.
It's the fiscal year, sir.
Okay, so the fiscal year runs from July 1 through June 30th. Okay, that's what I thought. But the annual street improvement phase 10, this second quarter report says 5.9 million plus was allocated. The 2021 budget called for $8 million for street improvements. Do I understand the 1.3 plus million that's going for Verdugo and several other major arteries is part of that 8 million? If not, where is the other couple $1 million?
Correct. It's part of the same program. The two projects combined is our streets and alley project. And also the difference also is that's the construction dollar that you see. The project management, which includes some design work, also inspection, and also material testing. So that's what we call the soft cost. That's part of the project itself. So the dollars amount that you see is just for the construction itself.
Okay, so combining the two, the 7.4 million or whatever, that wasn't all spent in the second quarter of this last fiscal year, was it? Could you explain how, it was parceled out?
Correct. So what I basically, in the second quarter, I outlined that the 2020 street improvement project, that was actually awarded by council for construction. So basically what that means is now, before this point, the design was completed in the earlier part of last year, and then they went out to bid, advertised it. They got the lowest responsive bidder, and then based on that, the contract construction award, we had to go to council to award that. So basically what I'm highlighting is that last quarter, the second quarter, that we actually did award a paving contract. And the other one that deals with the residential, the larger project, we actually started construction in last quarter, in the second quarter. So basically, I'm not saying that the project was completed in that timeline. It's just the highlights of what happened at that quarter.
Okay, I think I better understand it.
May I add on a little bit to that?
Certainly.
One of the things and Mr. Hahn and I are very interested in is hearing what your thoughts are on the presentation. And myself looking at this and hearing it, one of the things I wrote to myself is I think we can do a better job presenting to you by showing the actual value of what really was done in the quarter preceding the report. It can get confusing if we present an overall capital project where maybe it's $10 million, but it could have been $200,000 was spent on design, or maybe it's in construction. In the last quarter, we did $1 million of work. We will do better to get that to you in that manner next time. So I appreciate the question. Thank you. Okay,
I appreciate that. One final question, Madam Chair, which I think Ken somewhat explained. I keep my agendas and packets since I've been on the board. And back in February of 2020, we were presented by your predecessor, Judy Wilkes, the interim Public Works Director, what amounted to be the whole capital improvement program, which was already blessed by the city manager. Now, you said things are changing and we will be getting in March? Do I understand correctly? Your shopping list of what you recommend as professionals for funding, is that what the route we're going?
Sleeping.
Yes, if I may, for the board,
I'm reading your note.
You briefly summarize the process. Hoon right now is getting new project requests from all departments. And Hoon and I are going to do that initial scoring of those projects and bring that list with those scores to internally Doc and to the board, each once in February and each once in March, so we can talk about the process. That will get into the ultimate capital program that we'll present both for this year and show subsequent years. And then from April to June, basically it's to present to council as part of the entire budget. And they may talk about it and modify a few projects, what I'll call above and below the line to get done. And then we'll have the capital program established for fiscal year 21-22, and then we'll repeat that process with you. I hope that helps.
Very much. Thank you. And I really appreciate and support the direction that you and staff are taking on this.
Great. Thank you.
I think I've exhausted myself of questions, so I'll refer back to Madam Chair.
Thank you. It looks like Ms. Takahashi has a couple questions.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Hahn, for the presentation and for the information. So just to make sure I understand correctly this presentation tonight, you said that these projects that you presented are just the projects that are under construction, out for bid, or are otherwise in the works, but they're not any projects that are in planning or design. Is that correct?
That's correct. I didn't include those projects for this presentation.
Okay. So all the projects that were in the October update that are not listed here are all those projects are either planning or design, and that's why they're not listed.
Correct.
Okay. I also wanted to ask about a couple projects. I noticed on here that there were some financial differences between the October report and this one. Maybe I'm not reading it, reading it clearly, but I wanted to get some clarification. So for the project of the Burbank Channel Bikeway in October, it looks like on the report it says it was about $780,000 projected cost, but in today's report it's $7 million. And I'm wondering if that difference is because of a difference in project, or maybe I'm reading the reports differently, or can you give some clarification on that?
Yes. So the $784,000 that you're talking about, it was the carryover fund, the fund that was actually carried over from fiscal year 1920 to 2021. So the $7 million is the total project budget. So it's two different numbers and identifying two different things. So it was the remaining fund from the end of the fiscal year 1920, which carried over to 2021, and then they're working on finishing the project out. And the $7 million that's identified in this presentation is the total project budget.
Okay. And what's the breakdown of where the funding is coming from for that particular project?
I don't have the break. I know that it's grant funded, but I'm not sure the details of the grant.
Okay, so that's what I had thought, that it's I think Metro grant or.
Correct.
I can provide a little bit of background on that. If you go back to the City Council meeting of July 23rd, 2019, the staff report has a pretty full breakdown of all of the different funding sources. But yes, as you mentioned, there was Metro funding. There was also a bit of development impact fees, Prop 84, Measure M, as well as the City of Burbank local match for Measure R local return funds. So quite a few different funding sources.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. And then, I'm sorry.
May I?
Yeah.
Hi. Following on Board Member Jackson's question, that's a great example of how we can improve this presentation for you, a larger project that we will perhaps have a separate slide on that'll say, here's the project budget, here's how much design was, maybe the funding sources, and here's how much construction work was done in this past quarter. Maybe something like that. So thank you.
That would be helpful. Great. And perhaps the answer is similar for another project that had a similar discrepancy, which is the Midtown Commercial Corridor project. In October, it was budgeted, or it was listed as 1.2 million. And in this report, it's 4 million. Is that a similar situation?
That actually, I think I made an error. I apologize in the October. I don't know where that number, I got it from a spreadsheet. I didn't vet that out. And basically the number that I'm presenting today is the total project budget.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, a couple more questions, if I may, Madam Chair. You mentioned earlier about how you're putting up project signs in the community for Measure P fund, which I think is wonderful. I think it's great that we're showing the community what the Measure P funds are going towards. I did get, as you saw in a conversation we had through emails, I did get a question about what is that sign for? What is that project for? And I'm wondering if we could share in this meeting how the community can find out what a project is or what's going on when they see one of those signs, how they can know more about that project.
I believe our projects are actually uploaded into our GIS layer, but I'm not positive on that, how regularly we update that. So I will have to get back to you on that.
Okay, because I think that I think that sign you showed was one that's on Victory Boulevard. Is that correct? The sidewalk project?
I believe so.
Yeah, and so that wasn't clear what the project was, and I think having the signs in the community is great. It's also important that the community knows what we're actually funding, in my opinion.
Sure.
And then I was wondering also with the projects that we saw tonight that you highlighted, in particular the park shades and the upgrade to the exercise equipment. I'm wondering how much of our community knows that this has been done. And so I'm wondering if there's a way that we can put more information out into social media or somehow let the community know. And then if this is our tax money going towards it, or if it's a grant that we got, that the community can know where, how that got improved. So I'm wondering if there could be some more sharing, because I didn't know until I got this presentation that the shades were done in the park, and they're beautiful. I love them. My son goes to that park, and he didn't mention to me the new shades. So I think that would be great for the community to know. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, Mr. Hahn, if I may, through the chair, for the board's benefit and for those in the public who are watching, Public Works Department does have a webpage that has Public Works current construction projects where folks can take a look at our current projects and see their status. But more importantly, the city is revamping our website, and we definitely plan on improving our messaging for construction projects and our capital program as a whole in the future. And personally, I look forward to seeing the test pages and getting my 2 cents in there to address those types of things. And it will include, some smartphone capability too. So we definitely are working on marketing and improving the message because it's very important. We want to make it easy for folks to find out what we're doing.
Great, thank you. And I would love to see those 2 projects in particular on social media, the new coverings and the exercise equipment, because they're beautiful, beautiful projects. And our community right now, especially wanting to do outdoor activities, this is a great opportunity.
Mr. Hahn,
yeah.
Coordinate with the PIO to help get that message out there. So thank you.
Thank you. I have 2 more questions. Oh, sorry.
Wait, can I interject?
Sure.
So I got this in my mailbox because I'm home so much now, and I actually go to my mailbox, and we got this. And this is a good old fashioned way to get in touch with the community, because we're always on social media, and we're always online, and we're always, Metro and all this. But this is a good way to get the message out. So I just wanted.
What is that? I'm sorry, Vanessa, I can't see it.
What is it?
Oh, from the
yes,
Recycle Center.
And look, Mr. Berkman.
Yes, I do know. I do know that article. Yes, thank you.
So,
yeah, that was good. I got it too.
Mass mailing.
Mm-hmm. I know it's expensive to mail paper. It costs a lot, but maybe twice a year would be great. Something like that. Or yeah. I have 2 more questions, Madam Chair, and then I'm done. One other question is not related specifically to the presentation you gave tonight, but it is a question in the community that I've heard and I myself have. And as you probably have all heard in the news, is that it has been published that the Burbank Bridge, I-5 Burbank Bridge project is run out of money, and they're looking for more money. And so the community is concerned that this project's been delayed, or that it will cost us more money to get this project done. So I was wondering if maybe you could give us some updates on the Burbank Bridge project and how it might impact our community, both from a practical perspective of how long it's going to take and the businesses and the residents around that area, and also financially of whether it'll impact our community in a financial way.
Well, thank you for the question. I am not aware of any schedule changes. It is still, when I first started in April, it was the bridge was to be opened in August or so. They are still forecasting it for August, September. So it's on schedule. It's a Caltrans project. I don't know the inside details of the budget issues or what's going on. So I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that, but I've not heard of any city financing required for the Caltrans freeway project. If anybody does, I'd be happy to follow up, but I haven't heard any city investment in that.
So what I understand is that it's completely funded by Caltrans. Is that a correct understanding?
That's my understanding as well.
Okay, great, thank you. And then my last question is and maybe this is outside the scope of this group, but since it's infrastructure, I have a question about it. If this Burbank Bridge project does get expanded, like time-wise, if it does go longer than expected, will it impact the Magnolia Boulevard Bridge project that is expected to happen through the Front Street project? I know that's a privately funded, that's a public-private partnership, I think, that particular one. But Burbank Boulevard is a major thoroughfare that's been cut off, and we're relying on Magnolia Boulevard to get across to downtown Burbank. And if that bridge is being constructed on too at the same time, that might cause a lot of disturbance. So I'm just wondering if that will affect those together, if you have any insight on that.
Personally, I do not. Mr. Hahn, are you aware of the Magnolia, a Magnolia Bridge project?
I'm not aware of it. I believe it is part of a condition of a larger developer project, but as part of the condition, to develop a project, it takes a pretty long time. So, and as far as traffic detouring and traffic control, I mean, if Burbank's not open, I don't see us closing Magnolia Bridge. I mean, that would be fatal for our community. So that's, we would have to schedule to make sure that happens. So the engineering group and also the CDD group, I know that they would be working hand in hand to make sure that we coordinate that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Those are my questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson, did you have another comment?
Well, no, just to follow up on what Ms. Takahashi said, I distinctly remember a line item which dealt with Magnolia Bridge upgrades. Now, I don't know if that was the elevator that goes down to the Metro Center, but I mean, it's, I can sift through all my back agendas, and maybe Mr. Hahn might want to do that too, because it was listed, it was mentioned in prior meetings as a project that was somewhere in the pipeline.
Well, if I may, through the chair, the good thing about this new effort we're making on the capital program is we're taking a look at all projects on the books, making sure they should still remain on the books, kind of cleaning out the closet a little bit because there are things that have been on there. If that is a viable project, any city project, if it's viable, it will be on a list that the board will see.
Okay, one follow-up. Ken, you said about the Burbank Bridge being completed tentatively in August. Is that August of 2021 or 22 or 3 or?
And thank you, Board Member Jackson. That's this year. This
year. Okay.
August, September 2021.
Okay, because it's taking Caltrans longer than we put a man on the moon to widen I-5 through Burbank and the adjacent communities, but that's another matter. Which, thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you for all the good questions. I know it takes a while for concrete to cure, so that might be some of the holdup. So if there are no further questions, then we'll recommend to note and file this report. And we can move on to our introduction of additional agenda items. Does anyone have any additional items they'd like to add to a future agenda based on some of the comments we had tonight? Mr. Vanderboort.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure it's an additional agenda item, but a bit of a question that perhaps if we don't have the ability to answer it tonight, we can get it again on his minor report to the board if my colleagues agree. Recently, some work was done on Oak Street around Sparks, Reese, Griffith Park, which resulted in an inordinate amount of dust on the street. And when I say inordinate, I mean anything that anyone working privately would have probably been fined for leaving a mess that was left there for literally a couple of weeks. We were saved by the prior rain a week ago that finally washed away the mess that was left behind. Any idea what transpired? And all I saw were crews from our water and power department, and I don't want to point fingers and I may have incorrectly seen them, but I was just curious if we know anything about that, and also any updates on the work that is being done on Verdugo and Reese that continues to be closed, inaccessible to the public now 2+ months into the process.
City Attorney Kurohara, how shall we address that? Is this something we can take a look at and bring back in a memo to the board next report?
Yes, if it sounds like this is a multi-part question, and Mr. Berkman, you may have a more robust answer that you can provide. So I would recommend either a report back to the board, or if the board would like to do an agenda item on this, we can work that into the upcoming schedule.
Thank you, Ms. Kurihara. I don't require an agenda item, just a question of curiosity. And this runs along the lines of what the public sees. And this was quite a mess that was left on Oak for quite a while. And by that, I mean at least a couple of weeks after work was completed. There were some crews cleaning, but it was definitely messy.
Through the board, through the chair, board member Vandenborp, we can prepare an informational memo for the packet next time.
Thank you, Madam Chair, also for allowing me to ask that question. And the one about the Verdugo, it appears to be gas line work, but they continue there. So just curious if the city has been updated as to what's happening with the anticipated completion date so that the street can reopen.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Takahashi?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Regarding future agenda items, I'd like to re-emphasize item number B, review of IOB's scope of responsibilities, including traffic responsibilities. I think that this particular item is an important one to review because it's rather structural to our commission and what our responsibilities are. So I think it's important for us to have a clear baseline of how our commission, whether we are addressing the traffic commission duties or not, and that way we can take that off of the future agenda item and also understand the structure of our group. So is that possible that we can kind of put it up higher on the list and get that done?
Board Member Takahashi, we definitely have intentions of bringing that back. The next 2 months are jam-packed with the capital program, which is the first time we're going to be going through that. So as soon as we get through that effort with you, we will be bringing that back.
So in the meantime, if anyone has a traffic commission issue, we'll deal with it as it comes, or it will be dealt with in-house outside of the commission, or?
Well, there is no commission, and all traffic requests are coming through staff and public works in our traffic division.
So all the responsibilities the traffic commission had before is no longer being funneled through to a commission?
If I may add to that briefly, when the responsibilities of traffic commission were consolidated with infrastructure oversight board, some were transferred over to the board and some were modified or reassigned to staff. As I believe staff mentioned at a prior meeting, there have been some changes internally to traffic responsibilities, and so there are some traffic responsibilities that are now moving over to the community development department, and so we are trying to coordinate with them so that we can come back to you together and present what is currently within the infrastructure oversight board's powers and duties over traffic, as well as potentially provide some possible updates and changes that may improve traffic functioning overall.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any further comments on our future agenda items? All right, well, that being said, I have update on sales tax income, along with the review of the IOB scope of responsibilities Ms. Takahashi mentioned, and the project coordination protocol. I look forward to seeing that capital projects report. I know there's a lot of work going into it. I want to thank staff for all their hard work and all the information that they so easily pass along to us, and everyone for their questions, really great questions tonight. Nothing further. Our move to adjourn, and our next scheduled meeting will be February 25th at 6 p.m.
Thank you, Chair, board member.
Everybody have a good night.
Take care.